this year. But you can also build smaller hackerspaces. Nick Farr and friends will be discussing building hackerspaces everywhere. Your excuses are invalid, but we do have an excuse for running a little bit late. I'm sorry about that. Some of the discussions have gone over. In the next room at midnight, Robert Steele will begin. That simulcast downstairs as well, and he goes for 4 hours, so it's not like you have to leave this thing if you're into this. So without further ado, Nick Farr and friends.
Well, thank you very much. This talk is basically the 10 most common excuses that I've heard for people not building hackerspaces throughout the country. I've been going to cons and talking about hackerspaces and the need to build hackerspaces. First, I wanted to give a round of applause to the people in the front here who are from Hack DC, who built a very large, successful hackerspace in DC in 4 months. Give them a huge round of applause. Please, thank you to Hack DC. So I also brought some friends up here who have built successful hackerspaces, and I'm going to be throwing to them for each of the questions. Just a reminder to our panelists, please keep the story that I'm asking about to 2 minutes so we have plenty of time for Q&A afterwards. But without any further ado, the most common excuse that I hear going to cons, especially not at cons, this one goes out to all of those guys in Pennsylvania who can't seem to find each other, the rural problem. A lot of you guys are saying, you know, I don't live in New York, I don't live in Washington, D.C., I don't live in San Francisco. How can I possibly start a hackerspace? Well, one, space is cheap. You can get a lot of really good industrial space for next to nothing compared to what you pay for in major cities. And I'm going to throw to my friend Tim from Texarkana, who has a hackerspace in Texarkana, Texas. Tim, are you ready to go?
Sure.
All right, tell us, how did you start a hackerspace in a rural area?
Well, ours is more of an informal one. It's not as well. We're not a non-profit or anything. Mine's private. Ours is privately owned. There's just very few of us in a rural area. I bought some property about 5 years ago, and it just happened to have like a nice steel shop warehouse building in the back somebody used to work on tractors in. So we use that, and that's one of the advantages of a rural area is you can buy real estate really cheap. Like you can buy an acre of land with a shop for $5,000, so it's a little better than renting. We looked at a downtown space, 4,500 square foot in a downtown area for $400 a month. You know, that's pretty ridiculous. You know, but we're not going to use that one yet. We're going to get a few more people together before that. But that's some of the low cost. And, well, where we live, we got an Army surplus, a military base. They sell a lot of surplus. So if you look on our website, tktech.org, and some of the pictures, you'll see a lot of surplus equipment. But one of the bad things about a rural area is, like everybody says, it's hard to find other people that you trust. But you just got to be a little open. What we'll do, we'll have little parties. And at a party, of course, we got free booze and drinks, but we just take donations. But we'll have about 50 or 60 people. But out of that, about 5 or 6 will want to come out to meetings on Sunday and, you know, do something. And that's really about it. And
One thing I think you forgot to mention, you can blow stuff up way out in the country.
Yeah, that's...
All right?
That was...
I want all you guys out in Pennsylvania, by the way, Kansas City's coming online soon. I want to go to a grand opening at a hackerspace where they blow stuff up.
Yeah,
you can only do that in the country, so quit making excuses. This is invalid. Texarkana proves it.
We're not scared to take cars. We got 4 acres in the back. We'll take cars out, crash them together, run them into trees. We've built cannons. You just got to look into your local laws on the cannons and what you're allowed to build. But anyways, well.
Awesome. All right, getting to our the second most common excuse I hear, I live in a big city, good spaces are really expensive. Well, in a big city, you have access to a lot more people that are already meeting in tech groups, that are already doing things with lugs, local things like that. You guys all meet each other at cons. At every single con that I go to, there's 3 people from the same city who come up to me who don't know each other. Get out there, just go to different tech meetings, reach outside of your group. We didn't know, Hack DC got really big primarily through the Dorkbot DC list, which was cross-posted to the burners list. And the funny part about it is, Hack DC's been open for 4 months. Of our 41 members, 4 months ago, I knew 3 of them. That's what the power of being in an urban area is. And I just wanted to also congratulate Hack Toronto. Give them a big round of applause. They signed a lease a couple of weeks before Hope. So Lee, tell us how you solved this problem.
Well, so we kind of looked out. One of the things I was going to say is, you know, the right place will come along for the right place, the right price. We happened to get really lucky, and it was the first place we looked at. So 4 days after starting to look, we had a lease. But we're paying like 3 times what he was saying for a third, like less than a third of the space, and it's right downtown in a sort of like slightly sketchy neighborhood. And that's really the key, is like look for the right place in the right neighborhood, and you'll find a place you can afford. Look further out on transit. If you're in a bigger city, you're going to have hopefully decent transit, unless you're Ottawa. There's somebody from Ottawa here. Yeah, they only have buses. Go further out on transit. You'll find somewhere cheaper. Look in neighborhoods that might be a little bit more colorful than you might want to live in, but that will be totally fine for running a hackerspace, because they'll be scared of your like sharks with lasers. So.
All right, thank you, Lee. Problem number 3, the people problem. A lot of people say, well, I don't really know anybody who wants to start a hackerspace in my area. Get out. There are tons of meetings, Linux user groups, DEF CON groups, 2600 meetings. People are meeting and talking about tech. They're talking about art. They're talking about technology. They're talking about making. I mean, how many make meetup groups have just sprouted in the past 2-3 years? Tons of them in cities. These are the kind of people that you want involved in your hackerspace. Honestly, it's really easy to do. You don't have to leave your house. Subscribe to all of their mailing lists. Start posting on them. Say, hey, I think, you know, I live in this city. We should start a hackerspace here. And eventually people will come. That's how Hack DC got started. And I wanted to kick this one to my friend Eric Michaud from Hack Chicago. They don't have a space just yet, but trust me, in a month they will have one. Eric, how are you finding people in Chicago?
Hey everyone. Yeah, as one of the original board members of Hack DC, I originally thought I was moving to DC, and I wanted to start a space there, but apparently I ended up moving to Chicago, and I knew absolutely no one there. And that's a big question for everyone. It's like, well, I know nobody. I mean, who do I meet? Like, go to the meetings, 2600, Dorkbot. I mean, there's Synchronicity of Chicago, which is their Burning Man local group, and there's basically for every party, thousands of people show up, and they basically bring a sculpture or something else. Either deals with embedded systems or something else. So you have a whole cross-section of a ton of different people. And I was absolutely amazed. Within a month, I met over about 100 people that were like, I have money. I want to throw this down. I want to do something.
And Eric, how long ago did you move to Chicago?
Just January.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I moved there in January. I actually left January 4th. Next day, I went to the first 2600 meeting. Our first 10 members that are signing up right now, that are throwing in all the money, I met that day at the meeting. So if anyone says, I don't know, you got to be social. I'll be absolutely honest. The thing is, most of the people here, I mean, not most people. Hold me out on that. No, but the thing is, let's be honest. At one point in your life, you're like, I don't like talking to people. I don't like socializing. It's hard at first. You don't like rejection. But the thing is, you got to keep putting yourself out there. You got to say, like, here's our ideals. This is what you want to do. Put your goals out there. People admire people that say, I want to do big things. And if you keep following to your word and don't back down, people will realize, wow, this person's not full of shit. Let's be honest here. Hack DC is now because of that. If anyone wants any proof. Why we're up here right now is because of hackerspaces, because people said, I want to do something. Let's get some people together. We got the people together, put the money down, we got spaces, we got projects. That's what we're doing right now with Hack Chicago. We started up basically, we actually started looking a few days ago. We already got a number of prime spots. We have about 40 people that all want to throw down a bunch of money.
Eric, you're kind of going over your 2 minutes. I knew he was going to do that. I put Jens right next to him so he'd throw him off stage. But thank you. You all had very valid points. You're going to be covered in other problems. But the one important thing,
thank you.
Start meeting on Tuesday. If you post out all these lists, we're meeting about hackerspaces. We want to build a hackerspace here. We're meeting on Tuesday. Set goals, accomplish those goals, and just meet on Tuesday. Of course, not everybody's going to be able to make it every Tuesday, but you know,
that's the point.
Exactly. Everybody knows when the meeting is.
By the way, I have to add, because we are talking about Dorkbot, and Dorkbot is a really, really really cool thing and a good place to meet people. The guy who actually invented or started Dorkbot is in the audience, and I think he should get a big applause.
Give him a huge round of applause. Can you stand? The politics problem. Of course, this is the hacker scene. There is naturally drama. The Germans actually had a very simple solution for this. He who is doing is right. Avoid bike shed problems. Or she, thank you. Okay, she or he who does is right. Thank you, Allie, my fiance. No, she.
What sheep?
Nothing. The point is, find people who do. In this scene, there are two kinds of people. There's people who talk and people who do. Give authority to people who do. Let them do things. Even if they don't do it exactly the right way, if they get it done, they are right. And just end endless political conversations, bring them to a close, resolve issues. I wanted to give this one to Mitch to explain how he solved a problem regarding membership in working out the bylaws for Noisebridge, the hackerspace in San Francisco. Mitch, could you tell us that story real quick?
Yeah, well, that was one of the things. We work with, try to work with consensus process. So I find with groups that I've been in, excuse my voice, I've been yelling for the last day and a half. Consensus process brings people in so everyone feels involved. It can feel a little frustrating at times because it moves kind of slowly, or it seems like it's moving slowly. But you can go through really difficult problems and everyone feels like they can live with it afterwards. The thing that's been taking us the longest is to come up with our bylaws. In California, as with many other states, there's a legal definition for member, and we call that member with a capital M. We want to be a membership organization, and that would be not necessarily a legally identified member by the state of California. So we were trying to figure out, well, should we conform to California law with little m members and big M members or not? Well, it turns out that if you don't have legally defined members in the state of California, you can't get rid of a board or a board member that is maybe overstepping their power or just isn't doing their job. It takes a vote of the board to do it. So going without capital M members, we run the risk of having a board that kind of gets out of touch with membership. If we don't have capital M, or if we have capital M members, there were a lot of people who were concerned that cliques would form. And if a clique forms, then they could just, as soon as the clique gets a majority and can bulldoze their way around, then they get rid of a board member that's just like the scapegoat du jour. And there have been a lot of people in lefty organizations who have told horror stories about that. So either way, there's upsides and downsides. So we just went around and around for actually a few weeks talking about this as the major topic. And after a while, everyone who had strong opinions one way or the other had voiced them, and everyone felt we could live with having capital M members. And there was a lot of discussion with hacker groups around the world actually using email and IRC, which helped us get to that decision that we could do it locally with our consensus process, and we all feel, if I can speak for the group, we all feel really good about that. And we're about to incorporate as a legal, nonprofit, tax-exempt organization in the state of California, which means we can get a bank account, which means we can rent a space. So.
Also, give him a huge round of applause for the microcontroller workshop that he's been doing in the Hackerspace Village, bringing tons, huge. Mitch, thank you so much for that. That is awesome, and congratulations again to Noisebridge. And moving on, the time problem. Okay, maybe you have the money, maybe you have the people, but nobody seems to have the time. Once you have a group of people, spread the work out. Don't let any one person take on too much responsibility. Even if it's a small amount of time that you can contribute, use that time to find other people who have the time. College students especially. They might not have the money, but they have nothing but time in a lot of ways. I know some college students might disagree with me, but honestly, you don't have to have a space to start running some events and getting people involved and making building a hackerspace a time priority. I wanted to throw this one to Jens Oleg from the C4 in Cologne. He's started that hackerspace, and now perhaps he doesn't have that much time to do it. But Jens, please tell us, how did you guys solve the time problem?
Well, we had very good results with something that